at large, because a theatre in central London, the Soho Theatre, has apologised after Jewish audience members were made to feel unsafe and threatened after comedian Paul Currie said to have pulled out a Palestinian flag and yelled, "Get out at a man who didn't want to do the same." It's a pretty bleak story that a theatre in central London, there is a strong Jewish community in London, of course, and people are genuinely feeling unsafe and targeted, frankly. Bill?
This story made my blood boil. I believe in a two-state solution. I believe in the rights of Palestinians. But this extremist behaviour on the fringes of society that says Palestinians totally right, Israel totally wrong, is a million miles away from the solutions that we need. If we're going to get peace in the Middle East, it's going to involve compromise, it's going to involve give and take, it's going to involve listening to each other. And that kind of behaviour, attacking someone because they didn't stand for the Palestinian flag, is totally unacceptable.
The audience member claimed that the comedian told the man, "Get out of my show, get the F out of here," and then continued to swear. Apparently other members of the audience joined in shouting "Get out" and "Free Palestine" until the young man left.
And this is all because he didn't stand up and applaud the flag.
Yeah, it is. Mob mentality.
It is.
I think it also kind of points to a wider issue we have, which is this kind of whole thing where if you don't agree with me, you're wrong. This polarising of opinion, which we see all over social media. Any flag that he got out, right, everyone in the audience has to agree, everyone has to applaud. No. And this was really, really shocking. Again, an example of the way we anti-Semitism has become a very dangerous and difficult issue, but also kind of, as I say, speaking, I think, to the fact that, and comedians seem to think this kind of thing is funny, to somehow, sort of make the audience feel embarrassed and then, you're not on my side, you must be wrong. If you don't agree with my opinions, you must be wrong. We see a lot of comedians doing this. Somehow it has become some sort of staple, particularly, I have to say, of left-wing comics. That's what they do.
Essentially what it says is you're not welcome in my show if you support Israel in any shape or form, or if you won't stand and clap for the Palestinian flag. I mean, do we live in a free society or not? Because sometimes it feels like there's a lot of pressure to have certain views. Bill?
Well, that's certainly what was coming across here. And do you know what this cries out for me is we need to develop a culture of being able to disagree agreeably. And this guy is a million miles away from that kind of mindset. And frankly, he ought to be ashamed of himself.
It is extraordinary, waving the flag of one side of a conflict, saying everyone has to stand up and applaud that flag, and then handing out someone who refused to do so. Standing against that sort of mob mentality should really be applauded from where I'm sitting. But I'm just amazed that this was allowed to go on, and that, frankly, this particular theatre booked this act, presumably not knowing what was in the act.
Well, the worrying thing is that this kind of behaviour is seen as edgy. This is kind of seen as edgy and fashionable and trendy. That's my real worry about it. As Bill says, it speaks to an inability to be able to debate sensibly, to be able to see someone else's opinion. That's what it actually speaks to. But it's seen by many kind of so-called alternative comedians as being terribly edgy to do this kind of thing. And actually, it's shocking. It's like the 1930s. This is like fascism. Whisper it, but it is.
And apparently this theatre was built on the site of a synagogue. Is the most extraordinary
thing. And it goes so much further, doesn't it? On campuses, we're hearing stories, every week about Jewish students feeling, targeted or feeling unsafe or threatened. And it's difficult, isn't it? Because a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm only critical of Israel. I'm not saying anything negative about the Jews. But there is such a blurred line, isn't there, Bill?
There is. And look, I'm a former university vice-chancellor, and when I was talking about being able to disagree agreeably, that's what I gave a lecture on that within universities about the role of higher education to teach students how to be able to disagree agreeably. And I think that's fundamentally important. And it's broader than higher education. It's within a society as a whole. And I think we are sadly lacking that at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, we should say that we've reached out to Mr. Currie for comment. He has not yet replied. But posting on X, formerly known as as Twitter, Soho Theatre itself has responded by saying this: "We're sorry and saddened by an incident that took place at our venue at the end of a performance of Paul Currie Stoom on Saturday the 10th of February, which has caused upset and hurt to members of the audience attending and others. We take this very seriously and are looking into the detail of what has happened thoroughly, as sensitively and quickly as we can. It's important to us that Soho Theatre is a welcoming and inclusive place for all."
Well, there we go. And we've also contacted the comedian in question, Paul Currie, for a comment, but we're yet to hear back.
Well,